This is the fourth video of the integer review for the Kahoot questions that we played on Friday. Dealing with this problem here, I've got some fractions and I've got some parentheses. Knowing PEMDAS, I need to do the parentheses first. So 6 minus 1/2 is going to give me 5 and 1/2. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite the rest of my problem. And I see now that I have 5/6 minus 2/3 times 5 and 1/2 plus 3/4. Multiplication comes next. 2/3 times 5 1/2. We'll need to rewrite 5 1/2 as an improper fraction. So 5 1/2, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11 halves. Now I've got 2/3 times 11 halves. Multiply my numerators, I get 22. Multiply my denominators, I get 6. 5/6 minus 22/6 plus 3/4. Please make sure you are rewriting each one of your problems. Now I need to add and subtract. I'm going to subtract first because it comes first left to right. I need common denominators. I'm already there. So I have 5 minus 22. Well, I know that's going to give me a negative 17. And I keep my denominators the same. Rewrite my problem. To add these, I need to think about, is there a number that both 6 and 4 go into to find that common denominator? The answer is 12. So I'm going to go ahead and put my denominators in. How do I get from 6 to 12? Multiply it by 2. So I can do the same thing to my numerator. 17 times 2 is 34. Make sure you don't forget about that negative sign. How do you go from 4 to 12? Times 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Now I've got negative 34 twelfths plus 9 twelfths. Thinking in terms of armies, the negative army is larger than the positive army. Therefore, my negative army is going to win. By how much? I take 34 minus 9 and I get 25 over, and I keep my denominators the same. Now taking this improper fraction and turn it into a mixed number. 12 goes into 25 2 times. There is 1 out of 12 left over. Dealing with our word problems, anytime that we are dealing with sales tax, I will most likely allow you to have a calculator unless my sales tax is 10%. I assume that you can answer a question that is 10% of something. So with this one, Miss Yemma went to the store to buy a sword, a shield, and a suit of body armor. She has some crazy kids in class. The sword cost $175, the shield $98.50, and the body armor $202.20. The sales tax was 8%. How much did she spend in total? There are two ways to solve this. I'm going to do the easy way and then demonstrate the hard way but not solve it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply all of this by 1 point this sales tax, which written as a decimal is 0.08. So I'm going to go 1.08, and I'm going to multiply that by everything that she purchased. So 175 plus 98.50 plus 202.20. Add these up first because it's on the side, and then multiply by this, and that will give you your answer. Another way you could do it is you could You could add them all up. That would give you how much were just the items, and then multiply all of these numbers by that sales tax, 0.08, and that will give you the same answer as this. Whichever way you choose to do it, it does not matter, they will get you the same answer. Dealing with Mr. Kaufman's. He bought a new baseball glove for $250, a dozen baseballs for $51.25, and sunflower seeds for $9.99. 7.5 sales tax, but the baseballs did not have tax. Therefore, I'm going to show you the way that I would do it. I would take my sales tax of 0.075. I take 1.075 times the value that has the tax on it. Remember, the glove has tax and the seeds have tax. And then I'm going to add the cost of the baseballs, which do not have any tax on them. Do my parentheses first, then multiply, then add. Ocean water freezes at -2.5 degrees Celsius. Fresh water is at 0 degrees. Antifreeze freezes at -64 degrees Celsius. Imagine the temperature is exactly at the freezing point for ocean. How many degrees must the temperature drop for antifreeze to turn to ice? So if we were starting at the freezing point for ocean, we're going to be starting at -2.5. And then I need to drop or subtract some number to get to -64 degrees. How I'm going to solve this is I'm just going to know something minus something is giving me something. Therefore, using fact families, I know that -64 plus a -2.5 will give me, this is going to be a negative value. So -64, oh, excuse me. This is going to be a subtraction. This is really adding, which means that this is 61.5. This value right here is going to be 61.5. That is what I'm looking for. For this question, it really comes down to, do you understand that a positive times a positive is a positive? Do you understand that a negative times a negative is a positive? Do you understand that a negative times a positive is a negative? Do you understand how the algorithms work? So down here, I'm going to choose from these values. I do not know what each of them represents. I do know that A is different than B, which is different than C, and they're not 0. Using fact families, I can rewrite these. So I know that I want A by itself. Therefore, I know that A is going to be equal to C over B. Again, fact families be super beneficial. Now, I have a negative b here. So in order for this to be a positive, I need a negative divided by a negative. I know that c has to be my numerator, therefore my answer is negative c. Current temperature is -7. Was as many degrees above 0. This is where reading the problem is very beneficial. I want to know the number of degrees between the current temperature and yesterday's high. Well, if it's talking about between or difference, it's going to be subtraction. All right, so I could say -7 minus 7, which is a -14, or 7 plus 7 is 14. What I'm looking for is just the absolute value here, because I'm wanting to know what is the number between the two. So I do not want positive or negative, I just want the absolute value. This one is just running through and knowing what division means. Okay, I'm looking for -24 divided by 3. So for the first one, I want to know which of these situations could be used to answer it. So if the temperature decreased by 24 degrees per minute for 3 minutes, this is actually going to be a multiplication problem. For that, I would go 24 1 minute, 24 the next minute, 24 the third minute, and I'm going to get a number that is not equivalent to this answer, which is -8. So A cannot work. For B, they lose 24 in one play, then gain 3 in the next. So what that is, that's -24. What they lost in the first, well, 0 is where they started. Then -24, and then +3, which gives me a -21. That is not equivalent. For C, withdrew a total of 24. Withdrew is often shown as a negative number, so withdrew -24 from her bank account over 3 days. She withdrew the same amount each day. So we're really making groupings per the day, which is a -8. And let's make sure that D doesn't work. 24 cookies. If each child receives 3 cookies, how many are there? How many children are there? So we start with 24. And then we are dividing here, but I am now giving away 3 cookies. So it's now going to be a -3. And that tells me that there are 8 children. Let me rephrase that. I would be giving away, so this value doesn't matter. I want to know how many children there are. There are not negative children. We're going to skip this problem. For if there's anything like this, go through. I know that it cut off my line over here, so I apologize for that. If there's anything like this, go through and solve each one of these to figure out which ones are true. I will tell you that this is true. I will tell you that this is true. And I will tell you that this is true.